Hi. So I had a video suggestion from my son, which is weird. Um, he does not watch any of these videos. He's aware that I have a channel, but he's never he's never looked them up. I mean, who knows? Maybe dead and gone. Maybe he'll start from the beginning and go through them. Who knows? Doubt it. Um, oh, and also, in case, I had some comments last week about how I'm being pulled in all these directions at work, and the general consensus was that really it's about time that I got a different job. I have not gotten a different job, but what happened was what always happens. It gets to a point where, and this sounds like so woo woo, but basically my body was like, nope. And I got sick and couldn't really say what it was. My son is convinced that it was not even like an illness. He thought I was under stress, and that was what the symptoms were based on. Because I never had a fever, but I could not work. Oh well. So my son was like, well, first he actually his first suggestion was how to cope with financial pressures if you have avoidant personality disorder. Because of course, not working well, depends where you are. I travel a lot, so basically, if I'm not even sure, but I assume I'm not getting paid. Maybe I'm not even keeping track of it. I assume that I've used everything up at this point. So he's like, "Oh my goodness, you're," and my son had he left a job, which I was like, "Yay, kid." I mean, obviously, that that's a skill that I don't have, to recognize that something's not working out. So he had left his job, and I think it was like 2 months where he wasn't working, and then now he's started a new job, and he's fairly happy with it. Um, of course, there's always something wrong with the job, but he's back on his feet. So I guess he's feeling guilty because he put pressure on me, and then I got sick, and he thinks that maybe that had something to do with it. So he's convinced it was just stress, and I'm like, whatever. So that was his first topic, and I was like, well, one, I'm sure I've talked about it before, and two, just not like mentally in the place. I'm actually not mentally in the place to do much of anything. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if I'm going to start sounding really awful real soon. But his suggestion was sort of talking about if you have avoidant personality disorder, because he knows that's why he doesn't watch my videos. He knows what they're about. If you have avoidant personality disorder, like how and why would you watch horror movies? I'm like, oh, that's a new one. I don't think I've ever had some, in forums or anything. I don't think anybody's ever talked about that. I think that, and well, in my extremely tiny, like polling peer group, I don't think generally that that's something that people enjoy watching. Like I know for a fact that one of the people that I know who has avoidant personality disorder has what do they call it? They're highly sensitive. There's no question. I mean, that's not like an official diagnosis, but if you look down the list, unquestionably, and gets extremely disturbed um, by something like that. Does not enjoy it at all. Me personally, I actually generally don't like horror movies. Saying this, I saw two of them this year. Um, I saw the Backrooms, um, which as like a metaphor for isolation and having your, well, basically allowing your mental issues to take over your life, and the effect tremendous. Um, and the second one was Obsession, which was even worse. I mean, there's a little bit of gross and gore in Backrooms, but Obsession was pretty gory. That I did not like it for that reason. Um, but as a psychodrama, um, it was great because it was like a total bait and switch and basically a monkey's paw story. You know, watch what you wish for. As somebody with a avoidant personality disorder, you better believe it. Watch what you wish for. You might think that you want something, and it comes with a lot of things that you didn't expect on the other side. And I think actually that's why people with avoidant personality disorder, as they get older, they are more accepting of their limitations. Let's call it that, because they realize, okay, yeah, maybe I do want to do the traditional route. That means I've got to deal with in-laws. Yikes. uh, no, thank you. I can't even deal with my own parents. Yeah. Um. Anyway, so specifically, I think the reason why he thought of this was it's kind of a joke. I mean, I mean, I'm saying you've heard this. Everybody's heard this. Um, Back in the day, I think they're all privated now, but I used to do these walk and talks with my cats. Um, at the place we used to live, um, the roads were definitely quieter, and especially Poppy, who I still have, my big guy. We were trying to get him to lose weight, so I would take him for a walk about a mile every night. And there was, where I live, every inch is developed except this one little block that, it definitely would have held a house. Just no, just woods. Really weird. And you would hear very strange things in there, and it was like, oh, that's where the ghost is. And we would say hi to the ghost whenever we heard the weird knocking. Um, does that mean I'm superstitious? Maybe. Um, I mean, it was like lore. It was a story we told when we were doing the walk. Up, there's the ghost again. Um, but it's sort of like a touchstone thing. That I go on a quote unquote spooky trip. It is usually a very superficial, kind of repetitive trip that I take, where, as opposed to normally my trips, I'm going to someplace brand new I've never been to before, where there are lots of museums and stuff like that. Um, and I always do something that scares me. Well, I go on these quote unquote spooky trips, and it's usually seeing haunted houses somewhere. Actually, there's one that's really close to me in New Hampshire that I've never been to, that I know people have traveled countrywide to go to this thing, and I haven't done it. Kind of pathetic that I would travel so far, but mostly the point of it is that I just need to get away. As far as the calendar goes, um, I try to get it, um, before we we really start ramping up with my job. So like I'm going mid-September this year. You'll know. I'll put a video or two about it up. Um, but my son is like, what's up with that? Now I can tell you what's up with that is, why do I go to haunted houses? I go to the ones that are incredibly detailed, and it is like being in a museum. It's exactly the same. It's something cool to look at. It's very distracting. Um, but specifically, my son does not like horror at all. And I don't, like I said, I don't usually watch horror movies. I really dislike gore a lot. Actually, for a while there, I was working at a veterinarian. I was an assistant, and I highly recommend, if you can do this, if you think that you want to do a job, um, get a job around the job that you want to do, or volunteer or something like that, so you can see what it's like. So you don't put in like a decade of your life learning about it and then find out you can't do it. I could not stand the gore of, I mean, it was wonderful to be around animals. It was wonderful to try, altruistically to take care of animals. I couldn't take the gore. I don't like gory things. My son's like, okay, then, um, why do you love the, aesthetics of horror? Like, that is a question, and especially for avoidant personality disorder. Like, seriously, never occurred to me to talk about something like this. Um, so why do I like the aesthetics? First of all, again, what I like about it is the same thing I like about when I go to a museum and see like sculptures or paintings or stuff like that. Um, that it's somebody else's artistic vision. I've had people tell me the opposite, but I do not consider myself in any way, shape, or form like have any ability for as a visual artist at all. So I'm really impressed by stuff that people can do that I can't. I mean, again, like the writing the books and stuff, I'm sort of like, damn a dozen, anybody can do it, especially with AI. Actually, I used to do NaNoWriMo, the National Novel Writing Month competition, which is write an entire novel. I think it was a minimum of 45,000 words in a month. They had to cancel it this year because so many people were just like feeding crap into AI, and then they were getting a word count. Annoying. Um, so since they couldn't differentiate between people that actually wrote it and people who didn't, they canceled it. I really wish that somebody would start a homegrown version. I mean, I used to write it all out longhand when I would do that, just because it was so much easier and more portable. I would have notebooks and I would write it by hand. If there was a handwritten NaNoWriMo, you know what? I'd do it. As much of a pain in the neck as it is to do it. But that's one. That's one, is the visual storytelling, coming up with something completely radically different. Because I mean, you go see a movie about a normal relationship and it just looks like every other ad that you see in every other magazine and every other, it's very, it's not common to see somebody who has any personality or quirkiness. And if they do, okay, and I'm talking like visually, if they do, so they're interesting visually, that is their personality. It's not, there's not any differentiation. It's like what you see is what you get. Well, you know what? In horror movies, a lot of times, a lot of the visuals are just completely imaginative. And so the stories are usually, like I said, this one, it was a monkey paw story. It was Watch What You're Wishing For. Backrooms is I've gotten lost and I can't find my way back. So this is like you know, the Odyssey in a horror form. These are the same basic stories that everybody's told, but visually they look very different. And so that's it. As far as going to a like commercially spooky place, the other thing, and the same thing with Christmas, I absolutely love the lighting. Um, I wish people could have cool lights. I have my own cool lights. Thank you very much. Um, I don't. I mean, actually, if you saw the amount of lights I have around me right now, they're all white. Um, but um, I like that sort of shiny things. That's how basic I am. Um, I really like it. Like I went a while ago to Disneyland to see what they call it, Paint the Night parade, which is like a whole bunch of floats like you see in a parade, but they're completely covered with lights, and it was fantastic, and I loved it, and I want to drag my kid out there to see it, even though he's working on. I think he's how old is he now? Yeah, he's gonna be 25 this year. Oh God, is that right? Oh my lord. So I can't really drag my kid anywhere anymore. But I'd love for him to come and see it, just for an excuse, I think, for me to see it again, see it through another person's eyes. Um, it's fantastic to do stuff like that with somebody who hasn't ever done it before, which is the other thing is the novelty of it. Um, Again, it's not your average ordinary stuff, it's brand new stuff. So that's like the superficial thing. I'm avoiding the nuts and bolts of it, which is why would somebody with avoidant personality disorder, with a history of trauma, why would they be interested or alternately like disgusted by and avoid at all costs horror? Because what it does, and I know this is a little early, it should be in October, but hey, whatever. He's asked about it now and he asked me to make this video. I'll be really scared if he actually watches it. I mean, it's a way of living through a trauma safely. Um, it's a way that you can practice living through a trauma. Um, and then you also get like the hormone hits, I can talk, um, of when you get scared. Um, I don't get scared. It's funny. I actually talked to somebody. I went to like the biggest, you know, Halloween haunted house thing in the country, I guess. I don't know. Who knows? I think they all say that. Anyway, and people are screaming their heads off and I'm like, I mean, why? What are you serious? Um I had two, I guess you'd call them jump scares. Um because there were people who it's obviously lots of things to look at, lots of sounds, everything else. People snuck up behind me and I turned around and they were right there in my personal space. Twice. That happened twice. And that's the only time that I was literally like, oh gosh. But what you're supposed to be scared of, I was never scared of. So I don't get that dopamine thing. I wouldn't like it anyway. I don't like being out of control. That's not what I was into. I'm into the visuals, but um really that is what almost all um horror, participating in horror um is can you live through that trauma? Can you survive it? Um okay, I'm going to do specifics even though oh gosh. Ugh. Um for instance, okay, so I grew up in Maine. Love Stephen King. Um, Read what Stephen King um, recommends. And for a while there, his number one recommendation was Clive Barker. Clive Barker has extremely body horror, and it's not gory. It's very, very physical. Um, I mean, yes, there's some gore, but that's not really. It's not like he's got buckets of blood and describing it. It's not describing it. People, you know, really being injured. It's more like, and it's also really quick. It's not really fast. It's just like bada boom there. Um, so of course his, well, he had two, I think, that were really big. Um, I I'm pretty sure. I don't know. My This is where my history. I think that Candyman was based on his work, um, and also Hellraiser. And in both of those cases, um, basically there was a sexual dynamic. So, what would be the practice? The practice would be, one, could I handle trauma? And two, could I cope with trauma if it was somebody that, I mean, I grew up, it was not, thankfully, with the people who caused me to have avoidant personality disorder, it was not, there wasn't a sexual component. Um, there was emotional abuse and physical abuse, but not sexual abuse. And I learned how to deal with that type of trauma. But um, I have a basically big gaping hole. How do I recognize it? How do I deal with it? How do I react to it? What happens if there's sexual trauma? I don't know. Well, I can watch a movie. I mean, like, I really, when it's actually like like I said, any sort of type of body horror of any sort, gore, anything. So like, and physical acts on other people. Let's just call it that. Anyway, not into it. Don't like it. Actually, that was the worst thing I thought about the Obsession movie, was the person was not in control of her faculties and she was having a relationship with a guy. And it's like, she's not saying yes, then what's happening is not something that should be happening. Let's put it that way. That really bothered me. Um, Anything like that. What was the other one? Oh, Baby Reindeer. Oh, that was really good, but oh my goodness gracious. That was a TV show on Netflix, I think. I was so upset by what happened in that. Um, because it wasn't just a stalking thing. I mean, there were other things that happened, and I was like, oh, this is not cool. Don't like it at all. Not at all. And yet, if it's just, if they're not, if it's charged, but it's not actively doing something, I'm usually intrigued by it. Something like, it's really common lately for people to be like into vampires and all that for the same thing, that sort of thing. That part of it, I really think that's what it is you're practicing whatever trauma either that you've experienced yourself, and you're basically trying to keep up your chops so that you practice coping with it and dealing with it, and um, how would you live with it without actually having to go through it. Or if it's a different type of thing where this is terrible thing that could happen, you can get up to speed without actually having to go through it. When I was doing my marathon training, half marathon, whatever, running long distance, like 8, 10, 12 miles, uh, it gets pretty boring. And literally, to try to give myself a little bit of an adrenaline boost to keep going, literally, I would imagine I was in the ocean and a shark came along, and how would I get myself away from the shark? How would I, exactly where am I supposed to punch the shark? I would be like working it through my head while I was running, um, in order to give that adrenaline boost. Um, but truly, it is, I think, practicing keeping your guard up so that you don't have to, you don't actually have to live through the trauma again. You've got your practice in, and also then you can kind of trust yourself that, you haven't forgotten how you got through it. You'll be able to do it again. That's what I think it is. And conversely, the people who have avoidant personality disorder, who are like, oh no, I don't want any of that at all whatsoever. I think it's very, very similar, that it is reminding them of their own personal traumas, even if it's nothing to do with exactly what happened to them, but to see somebody being brutalized or whatever, um, or, or stalked, or, this anticipation of a trauma, um, it just, it's too close to home. And so they just, they react to it too much, as if they're reliving the trauma. And so they don't want anything to do with it in their life. Anyway, this was kind of a very off topic video. So who knows? Maybe it will take off, and I'll have to ask my son, to come up with more topic ideas. Or maybe this was a complete disaster. I don't know. But that's what I have to say on that. Again, I have no real experience whatsoever. This is just like my gut feelings. Like, what do I think about this? Well, this is what I think about this. And there we go. And I'll talk to you next week. Bye.